Some real estate agents seem to soar to the top, while others seem to sink to the bottom. But what's the difference between those agents? Are you going to sink or are you going to soar? In this video, I'm going to show you 5 reasons why some real estate agents become champions. Are you going to be one of those? Now, this is a live training that we did for our real estate agents at Plum Tree Realty, but we're going to invite you to take a look at how we train our agents, and we'd love for you to come along on that journey. So without any further ado, here's our training. Well, hey, I wanted to talk to you today in this video about why some agents become champions. It's kind of interesting now that we are in the upper 300s. We have almost 370 agents. So from my vantage point, I'm looking at 370 different small businesses that are all running parallel. And it's just remarkable. Almost everyone has a different way of doing it. It's unbelievable. But you see things where some agents they come in the door and they barely get their wheels going. They're just spinning their wheels. And then you get some agents that come in the door and man, they just take off and they head straight for the stars. Like they are headed to the top from day one. And it's remarkable to see the difference in these types of agents. And I've been watching this for many years now. Plum Tree we just had our 14th anniversary. So we are now officially 14 years old. I've been watching this for over a decade. And so I've taken some notes on what causes some of those agents to become champions while others not so much. And my true belief is that you can become a champion if you watch what champions are doing, what those most successful agents are doing. You can weave those things into your own business and you literally can become one of those champions. And that's why we're having this conversation today. So and I'm going to give you 5 things that I've noticed that cause certain agents to become champions out in the real estate world. So the first thing that I've noticed about real champions, they just seem to want it more. They want to win more than others want to win. Some people they get into it and they're kind of lackadaisical about it. They just they're iffy, they're wishy-washy, while the other agents will get into it and they are like, I literally have this conversation from time to time with agents. They'll say, hey, I've been making $200,000 a year in my previous job. I'm getting into real estate. I have to make $200,000 a year. And they have that mindset. Like I've been doing it. I have to do this because this is the way my life is structured. I have to make $200,000 a year. And they do. They get in and they figure it out. They figure out a way to make that $200,000, and it comes down to they want it more than some agents. Some agents are like, well, if I sell 3 or 4 houses, I'll be happy, and usually that's what they do, and that's fine. If that's what you want, that's fine. If you don't want to be a champion, no big deal, because obviously there are more important things than just dollars, right? If you're living a good life, you have a good family. Wonderful. That's fantastic. But some people have to make a certain income. They have to provide for their family. And one of the things I found is those people who want it more, they often have a very strong why. There's a very strong reason why they want that. And just as an example, in my life, I remember when I first got into real estate, I got in as an investor, kind of nudged my way towards real estate. But then by the time I actually got licensed, it was a very difficult time in my life. And I was going through a divorce, got divorced. I was a single dad. And I jumped into real estate full time. And it was like, gosh, I have to, like, I've got these kids, they want to eat almost every day. Like every day, my kids, they have to eat. And, I have rent, I have, mortgage, I have car payments, I've got all these things. I have to do this. If I don't, I'll be living in my car with my kids under a bridge. I can't do that. I have to do this. And so my why was so strong. I would figure out a way. Like there is some way to do it. I will figure this out. And so there would be barriers in my life, and I'd push through the barriers. There'd be things that would come up and it'd be like, I don't care. I have to do this, even if this is difficult, if it's hard, if I have to do very uncomfortable things, I'm going to do it because I have to feed my kids. I have to provide for my family. And then, as things began to become more successful, I realized, well, there are goals higher than just feeding my kids. I want them to be able to thrive. But for me, most of it had to do with providing for my family. And that was initially in the earlier stages of my business. That was a big part of my why. So, and what I've seen about these successful people is that they will fail and fail and fail until they figure out a way to win. Okay. So, and they don't stop. They never stop. They keep going. They want it so badly. They can taste it, and they eat championships for breakfast. I mean, they are so into this. They don't give up until they figure out a way to do it. So I would encourage you, if you're kind of ambivalent about real estate, I would encourage you to figure out, why are you doing this? Figure out a why. What is really important to you? And like, think about, if you were to make $100,000 a year, or $500,000 a year, or whatever that potential number is that could be a part of your life. How would that change your life? For most of us, it does change your life dramatically, in a good way. And I'm not saying you should live for money, but there are certain things, if you can leverage your business and generate more income, it can dramatically help you and the people that you love. And so I would figure out your why, and tie that into your business, and that will make it more meaningful for you, and help you to want it more. The second thing I've noticed about people, oh, before I get into the second thing, this is a little meme I saw. Interviewer, so why do you want this job? I saw this many years ago. I thought this was so hilarious. So why do you want this job? Well, I've always been really passionate about not starving to death. That was why I got into real estate. I just didn't want to starve to death. Okay, so that's his why. That's kind of a basic why, and some of us, that's how it starts. But you need to have some type of a why. Okay, now we'll move on to point number two. These people who become champions, they become champions because they actually think they can do it. They actually believe that they can do it. They use those people who say they can't do it or that they're going to fail. They use that to motivate them. My first year, starting with Plum Tree Realty, there was another broker who took me out for lunch. And he said, "Hey, you need to just forget about this brokerage thing. You should come and join my brokerage, and be on a 70-30 split with my brokerage, because there's no reason for you to be messing around with this Plum Tree thing." And I think we probably had, at that time, I think we had about 6 agents. And yeah, he said, and he looked me in the eye in between bites of his barbecue that he was eating. He said, "Look, I guarantee in 5 years, you will be out of business." He said that to me. He literally said that to me. And he thought that would motivate me to join his brokerage. And instead, I thought, are you kidding me? You're telling me I'm going to be out of business in 5 years? I'm going to show you. And I used that as a motivation. And 5 years, literally, here's how that went. 5 years later, we had 60 agents, and he had zero. He went out of business. Can you believe that? So people who are headed for that championship path, they don't believe it when people tell them they're going to fail. Instead, they use that to motivate them. And another thing, they believe they can do it because they build on smaller successes. Like, remember David and Goliath? Before David went after Goliath, he beat a bear, he beat a lion, and he had these victories. He had smaller victories. Those weren't nothing victories. Those were still pretty cool victories. But he had these smaller victories that built up to his battle with Goliath. Okay. And so I would encourage you, keep building those smaller victories and then keep building them bigger and bigger. And I know like Christina Strickland, I don't know if she's on this call, but she's one of our agents who sold recently. She's been at it, hard work, work, got $1 million sale recently, and it was like, whoa. And then she leveraged that, and now she has an over $1 million listing. And so she's been building, hasn't given up, very tenacious. And now and I told her when she got that sale, I said, now you're playing in the $1 million price range home, you're in that arena. And now you're going to see yourself selling more and more homes at that level. And within a couple of weeks, she had her next listing. So that's kind of how that goes. Keep building on your successes. Don't believe it if someone says you can't do it. Just go do it. Do it anyways. And now here's one thing I've used. I've had reference points in my own business, and I don't mean this negatively. I'm not saying that you should look down on other agents or anything, but I don't know. Have you noticed when you go to an agent gathering and you meet an agent from another brokerage who's a top producer, or maybe you're doing a deal and you see this other agent who's a top producer and you get to interact with them and you think, this person is highly incompetent. Like, how is this person selling this many homes? This person can't even hardly tie their shoes, and they're making $500,000 a year. How's this possible? And you see that enough times that you start to realize there are a lot of average people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in real estate. And I just remember when I was early in the business and I was starting to figure that out, I thought, if that person can do it, I can do it. I remember when I was like 2 weeks into my license, I worked for Remax, and I'd only been there for 2 weeks. I was sitting in the office of the broker, Bob Neal, if any of you know him. He was kind of one of my mentors when I first got into the business. And there was another agent walked by the door, and I thought, I'd watched this guy for a while, and I thought he's kind of a goofy guy. He's not very professional. He's pretty goofy. And Bob called this guy to come into uh, his office, and he had just gotten a check. He said, "Hey, so and so, I can't remember his name." He said, "Show Chris the commission check you just got." And he showed me this commission check for $45,000. And I was thinking, how can this goofy guy who's very unprofessional, how can he walk in with a check for $45,000? How in the world is that possible? And I remember thinking, if he can figure it out, if that guy can do it, I know I can do it. There's nothing fancier about him. He's not smarter. He's not, more professional. If he can do it, I can figure this thing out. And so think about that. There are lots of average people out there that are making, 3 or 4 times as much money as you are. And if they can do it, I promise you, you can do it. Okay. The third point that I'd like to bring to your attention, some agents become champions because they embrace the suck. Okay. They embrace the suck. This is a popular statement amongst Navy SEALs. I remember when I was a Navy SEAL many years ago. No, I'm just kidding. I was never a Navy SEAL. I was never tough enough to do that, of course. But when you think of the Navy SEALs, like Jocko Willink, is that his name? He's the one that I remember hearing him talk about embracing the suck. It's one of the statements that they have as a Navy SEAL. It's not easy to be a Navy SEAL. It's extraordinarily difficult. And they coach them to embrace the hardship. It's not that this is a setback when you have hardship. The hardship is a part of the journey. There's no way to become a champion without hardship. There will be a suck. It will suck at times. And like I see agents sometimes where they'll be in the middle of a deal and the deal the day before closing falls apart. And, they already had that money budgeted for that commission check, and everything falls apart. Or maybe they have a couple deals in 1 month that fall apart. And sometimes agents, they look at that and they aren't emotionally able to work with that. They fall apart. And but then there's other agents that say, you know what? Doggone it, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let this little glitch stop me. I'm going to go get another deal. And darn it, I'm going to make this happen. So uh, champions embrace the suck. They embrace the hardship and the losses as a part of the journey. Alex Hormozy is one of my favorite coaching business entrepreneur coaches out there. YouTuber guy, net worth over $100 million, and he has a lot of interesting content out there. When he was in college, he tells this story. He was the president of his fraternity for a while. And apparently, I was never a frat guy, but apparently at his school, it was very, very difficult to get through the whatever they call that, the orientation, the initiation into the fraternity. And there would be guys that would just be really having a difficult time getting through, and they'd want to give up. And he would go and he would ask them, what did you think it would be like to get into our fraternity? Did you think it was going to be easy, or did you think it was going to be hard? And they say, well, I thought it would be hard. And he would say, okay, this is what hard feels like. So just embrace it. This is what hard feels like. Deal with it, and you can be successful. And so he was able to talk them through that difficult time, the hardship of it. So I'm telling you, success in real estate is hard. Did you think it was going to be easy, or did you think it was going to be hard? Of course, you understood it was going to be hard. And so if you're having a difficult time in your business, let me just say, this is what hard feels like, okay? And you can make it through. Don't give up. Weave this into the journey. Let this be a part of the journey in making you a better person and better experienced, and this will help you to become a champion, okay? So that's number 3. Number 4 is some agents become champions because they focus on the long game, okay? I'm find it remarkable how some agents get into the business and they're wanting to get rich quick. Okay, they get in, they think, you know what, I want to get in, I can sell a couple homes, and within the first 6 weeks I should be able to sell 2 or 3 homes, and then they don't, and then they think, well, gosh, I guess I need to try something else, some other business, and so they're not really focusing on the long game. And so people who are champions, they're not trying to get rich quick. They might be trying to get rich slowly, but they're definitely not trying to get rich quick. And they'll build out a massive strategy for their business. It takes years to develop. Okay, one thing at a time. So maybe this year they're going to work on leads from this particular type of lead source. So they get that rolling, and then the next year they're going to start doing some marketing, maybe for event space or baseball teams or something in the area. And then so they've got that rolling. They've got these 2 different streams rolling. The third year, they're building out. Okay, we're going to start farming a community. So they're sending postcards to a neighborhood 12 times a year, and they've got that system going. So they've got all these different systems. So they're building this massive structure that's building over time. So they've got all these different lead sources coming in. So they're building a strategy, but it takes years to develop that. And they're okay with that because they're building it over a lifetime. They've got a long game perspective, and consistency over time. So they're working to be consistently working over time. They don't stop. They don't stop. They just keep going. And they're consistent over a lot of time, much time. And this type of person is okay with delayed gratification. They're not looking for just a quick fix, but they're able to see the efforts I'm putting in now are going to benefit me in 3, 6, 12 months down the road, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. And so they're okay with working now for delayed gratification. So these agents, they focus on the long game. And then the fifth thing I want to share with you, the fifth point, is that some agents become champions because they invest in themselves and their business. So, they're putting money and resources into marketing and lead generation. I see so many agents who aren't champions. They get a paycheck, they get a commission check, and they spend it. The whole thing's gone. Okay, what did you do with it? Well, I just spent it. I bought stuff, went on a vacation. Okay, did you invest any of that back into your business? Well, no. Should I? Yeah, you should. So, the champions out there, they'll take 5 or 10% of their each commission check, and they're putting it right back into their business, trying to build out their business, maybe buying leads, maybe marketing, developing marketing programs, maybe in software. We have one agent team where we provide good software for our agents, but we have at least one agent team that said, you know what, I'm still going to invest in a higher level of software. Thousands of dollars they're paying per month for their software. Even though we have software for them, they're investing in themselves in a tool that they know that they can use. So another way that people invest in themselves would be through learning, not just developing their business, but developing themselves. You're not going to build your business. You're not going to build it beyond you. You're going to be the thing that slows the growth of your business if you're slowing the growth of yourself. So you need to be growing. You'll never grow your business beyond yourself. So a lot of agents are going to seminars, conferences, they're reading books or audiobooks, listening to podcasts, they're on YouTube, watching, learning, growing constantly. And then some agents, they're investing in professional coaching. Okay, there's several coaching services out there. I would personally recommend that you take one of the bigger ones, one of the most successful ones. If you Google it, you'll find the best real estate coaching services out there. I can give you recommendations if you would like, but I wouldn't find somebody who is just a little local person that maybe they haven't really done that much. There's a lot of people trying to be coaches who should not be coaches. They don't really know. They can't take you to where you've never been. And that's the key to it. You have to find somebody. If you're going to find a coach, you need to find a coach who has been where you want to go, but you've not yet been there. So this person is like a Sherpa, right? They've been to the top of the mountain and back. They know how to get to the top of the mountain. They know the path. And so they're going to be your guide to get you to the top of that mountain. So that concludes my 5 things. I hope that's helpful to you. These are the things that make agents champions. And I would encourage you to take heart on these things and really try to apply these to your own business. Because I have no doubt everyone watching this, you can be a champion. There are very average people out there who are making big money. They are champions just because they've done a few things like what we just talked about. And you can do that too. All right, well, this concludes the live training portion of today's Broker Agent Mastermind. I hope you got something out of it. Following the live training section, we always have a Q&A for our agents. So if you ever join us in one of our live training events, you'll be able to be a part of the Q&A. But for YouTube purposes, we cut that part out. But we'd love to talk with you. If you are interested in joining us in those live presentations, send us a message and we will send you an invite. Love for you to be a part.